Oh, wow. It is very, very good to be back. Sorry for the 2 week hiatus, everyone. I really wanted to figure out how to make this a very awesome celebratory episode. So we got a lot of cool things for you today. We got right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about my trip to Colorado, and then we're going to talk about um, conspiracy theories with my boy Steven. I promise I didn't forget. I just needed to figure out how to say the word. Yeah, so I went to Colorado recently, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it because, I mean, it's called Backpacking America, and I should be talking more about my travels when I do get to travel. Um, so Colorado is really cool. I mean, there were some really dope pictures that I got to take there. I said the nature there, I mean, like, the nature was gorgeous. You look at these big rocks. I don't even know what the hell they're called. I guess buttes or something. I don't know, but they're huge. They're huge, like orange rocks, and like you look at them, and they're like the size of like I don't know, like 10-story, 11-story buildings, and there's like valleys, and it just everything that you saw in nature there, it looked like something out of a painting. I was looking at one thing. I went to Garden of the Gods. I did all this with my family too, and we went to this place. It was called Garden of the Gods, and it was these two big rocks, like these two big. This was at least at the main part. There were multiple parts you could stop at this like garden. It was like a 2-3 mile long park, but the main spot we stopped at had a port like an observation station, and there was a valley, like a deep valley, where you got to see like hundreds of miles through it, and it was these two big rock ranges that just like flanked each side of it, and the lookout post was poised so that way you're looking down the valley, and it's just like trees and trees and trees, and then as it seeps like deeper down into the valley, it kind of kicks back up, so it's like a slope up the other way, and then you could start seeing like all the towns and the cities, and then like the giant rock, like the Rockies, as a backdrop to it. It was something out of a picturesque painting from like the 1800s, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And while I was looking at it, there was a deer that came from my left side just out of nowhere, and it started walking across the path that you could walk down towards the valley. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. There were rocks you could climb there. There was, and I took a couple of rocks home. I don't know if you can or not, but I did. And because that's what my nunno did, and I was like, you know what? And he used to travel a lot, especially back during the Great Depression when they had the Civilian Conservation Corps, and they would build railroads and highways and all that stuff out west. And he, took a bunch of rocks and arrowheads and stuff that he found. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that, and I took some stuff from Colorado. And I gotta tell you, I Denver's a cool spot. I didn't really get to check out Denver that much. I stayed in Colorado Springs. The Springs are a really nice area. It's kind of like downtown Colorado Springs kind of reminds me of Port Jeff a little bit, or like a hunting. No, more like Huntington, more like a Huntington. Um, that's really cool. Huntington. It reminded me of Huntington a little bit. And there's another spot that's called Manitou Springs, and Manitou Springs is like a Woodstock type of deal, maybe a little more reminiscent of a Port Jeff for all of my Long Island folks out there, but it is truly like very hippie-ish, very cool spot. Little tourist shops everywhere, weed stores, you name it. Really cool stuff. And fun fact, actually, weed isn't legal for recreational use in Colorado Springs. It's only legal for medical use, and it's I don't know what it was, but it was some type of law, and I think it has something to do with the culture of Colorado Springs, because I was told when I landed there, because me and my family we went to this place. It was called Ted's Montana Grill, and at Ted's, first off, I'll get into the food in a minute, but our waiter, I think his name was Jason or Jackson or something like that, and he was telling us that like, oh, to be careful down there because people judge you a lot. I'm like, judge us? What do you mean? He's like, oh yeah, they're evangelical Christians. So if you're not evangelical or you're like an outsider, um, you're not going to be welcome there. Which I mean, we were welcomed just fine everywhere we went. People were quite kind to us. Um, but there, I could see why there what was my whole point of that? Evangelical Christians. Why were, oh yeah, because weed for recreational use was not legalized down there. And I'm like, all right, I can see like how maybe that type of, religious influence could make recreational pot, illegal, but still, like, why would you even legalize medicinal marijuana? That's kind of crazy. But whatever. um there was also, anyway, the food there, after he told us all this, he brought out our food, and I ordered um a bison steak, a bison strip steak, and I was like, I gotta try this. Or maybe it was, no, it was a bison strip and fillet. It had like a bone in it. It was really, who cares? It was really good. I had that. I had like this hot corn and I think mashed potatoes or something like that with gravy on it. It was so good. I killed the whole thing, and I gotta tell you, bison steak is delicious. Bison steak is absolutely delicious. Um, it's like beef but better, and it was so good. I think that was the best. Like any red meat I had down there, it was bison. Like I did not eat anything else but bison or chicken. Like that was really it. Their bison was fantastic. I had a bison burger the last night I was there, and I wasn't really that impressed with it. But the place wasn't that good. Um, we ate at a place at the resort that we were at, and I did not like that. It's, you know what it is. I feel like resort food and hotel food is a way to kind of trap people into eating mediocre stuff for high quality prices. Um, Ted's by far was the best place we got food that entire time. Um, Absolutely recommend it. There was the weather there. I mean, the air was clean. Like it was a lighter air. It was very dry too. So like I felt like my, like whenever I'd blow my nose, like there it would be like kind of like not bloody, but like yeah, it was like, how when you're sick and you just keep doing that and then you start, you know what I mean? That's what it was kind of like. So it wasn't that cool. You could definitely feel the altitude change for sure. A lot more tired, a lot more achy. It definitely, the altitude plays a role, especially because I'm coming from a place where I'm 10 feet above sea level, and then we went to a place that was 5,000 feet above sea level. So that definitely does play an effect into how things are done. I did go to a couple of tourist shops. Like that's obviously an obligatory. I got a cool, for my podcast people listening on audio only, they can't hear this, but to my video viewers, I did cop a Colorado state flag, and I was like really inspired by it because you saw the state flag everywhere. Like people were genuinely proud to live in Colorado. They love Colorado. I have not seen, like, you don't see people in New York flying the state flag at private residences or, off their cars or wearing it on their hoodie or their jacket or their hat. You don't see that at all. No one likes living in New York. At least that much. But here's the thing. In Colorado, they love it. And I mean, everyone you talk to, when you ask them how do they like it, even if they're transplants or natives, they're like, this is the best place on earth. Genuinely the best place on earth, or the best place in the country for sure. And everyone there has that to say about it. I went on the internet too. I was doing some research. I'm like, why do people like Colorado? People there were saying like, government leaves you alone. Nature's beautiful. People are friendly. You ask the people there, oh, the people are friendly. The nature's beautiful here. It's like God's country. You know, so with the internet and real life are lining up, that's how it's just true across the board. Um, but I was so enthralled by the fact that they actually cared about that, and that was inspiring to me because a lot of people here in New York, like I said before, they do not like New York State, do not care about New York that much. It's like, yeah, this place is cool, man. Like there's when people talk about what they like about New York, like, oh, the food's good. Um, there's things to do here. There's activities. There's New York City. Yeah. You can't really go on about much New York. Like, there's maybe like a sentence you could add about why you like New York. With Colorado, the people there, they could give you a paragraph, two paragraphs, or even, a whole page on why they love Colorado. And it all varies too. I was really impressed by that, and like the not the grit, but the appreciation of where they live, because you don't see that a lot at all. So that was really cool to see. Um, People were very friendly too. I mean, like, and I like that because one of the reasons I miss living in upstate New York is because I don't get to, like, when you live in Long Island and then you go to the city or you go, anywhere in downstate really, people aren't as friendly. They're a little more standoffish. Um, if you're talking to someone, they're just like, "Why are you talking to me? What is your intent?" If you're like in upstate New York, people are like, "Oh, hey, what's good, man? Like, do you want to hang out or whatever?" People are nicer. Colorado, you talk to people, they're very kind, they're very friendly. Uh, Nothing like New York at all. Not even standoffish. Just very like willing to speak and hear. You got to remember too, Colorado. They only have 5 million people in the entire state. New York has 27, 28 million people. So it's a lot of. It's a massive difference, especially when you're that crammed in. And another thing too about that, if you look at Colorado, we had to drive. We flew into Denver International, so like, but we had to get to Colorado Springs. So it's about an hour and a half drive, and we're driving, and we see like just wide open land, and you start to see like some cookie cutter condo developments like that were popping up, but they matched like the color tone of the landscape. It was a little weird to look at, but like it kind of grew on me. It looked cool. um going, and it's just like flat open land with like railways coming through the mountainsides. And then you'd start to see, like, as you got closer to the springs, you'd see like those red rocks and those rock formations, and you saw like the mountains all around you. Everywhere you go in the state, it's just mountains surrounding you. Um it's like one of those video games you'd play where like you hit the end of the map, like the map rendering, and then you would just see mountains in the background. That's basically what it was. It was like just like that was the edge of the world, and you were in the middle of it. And within that edge, you see like these smaller mountains and these smaller hills of just like, interesting rock formations and desert and plains and cow farms and little towns and picturesque villages and all that. It was beautiful. I mean, and the cool thing about it too is that the lowest speed limit I saw was 70 miles an hour. So people are going like 95, 100 miles an hour, easily down, their interstate highways. It was really cool. And, not to mention too, it's also Colorado. So it's near New Mexico where, obviously the Area 51 conspiracy is. Um, I saw, now this is probably going to show my obvious lack of agricultural knowledge because these probably aren't crop circles. But on the way into flying Colorado, I saw out the window these things on the farms that looked like crop circles. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, that has to be a crop circle. And I was telling my dad, I'm like, dude, those are crop circles. And him and my mom were like, nah, it's got to be just like a farming technique or something. So if someone knows, you know, if people in Colorado use circular crop patterns to grow food, like please let me know, because if so, why? Is it more effective? Is it easier to water? Is it an anti-drought type of deal, or are those actually crop circles? Either way, it was really cool. Kind of had me thinking about UFOs and stuff, because the Midwest is, of course, home to all, if not most, of the uh, alien sightings and UFO sightings in American history. Um, and yeah, overall, Colorado was super cool. I really, uh, I really enjoyed it. We only stayed for about 2 days, which is really unfortunate. But like, I'd love to go back again. Um, it was just, it was absolutely amazing. We, and the sad part is, it's such a big state and you only have 2 days. So like, you try to cram everything in that you can. I'm just really glad we got to explore the nature aspect of it. I mean, that's New York. Of course, we have some great parks and we have some great, you know, natural beauties and historical landmarks, but you're not gonna get anything like Colorado out of New York. I mean, it was gorgeous, and in the wintertime it gets even better. I can't even imagine what it looks like in the winter. Um, it probably looks like a wonderland, and I'm very excited to see the state again. It definitely gave me a different perspective on how to look at things, how to look at where I live, my own type of surroundings. Maybe ways to appreciate New York in the same way, but it's very difficult, especially with the tax situation here, the cost of living, all that jazz. So we are about to move on to conspiracy theories. Uh, Steve is well, he will be joining us in one moment. In a moment. Oh, there we go. Here he is. Hey, Steve.
Stephen Laney.
Oh, oh.
To accept, press 1. To
Uh,
send.
I think you guys all just heard me except Steve. Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
Oh man, so this is your first time on Backpacking America, right?
This is my second time. I was featured on I believe it was one of the stock market episodes around when GameStop was spiking up.
Oh my God, that was so long ago. I remember that. Yeah, we
Yeah,
were.
that was about a year and a half ago, I think, at this point.
Oh, time flies way too much. Yeah, it's been 3 years since I've done this. Yeah, we were balls deep in Dogecoin, weren't we?
Yeah, I still am.
Oh, you're still is so. Yeah, before we get into conspiracies, like, can you give us a quick Dogecoin update? Is it coming back or is it still very low?
Let me take a look, because it's been under 10 cents pretty much. By the way, does everything sound okay? I have my air conditioner on, and also my fish tank is kind of dribbling, but does it sound okay overall?
Yeah, it sounds fine. How are your fishies doing?
Oh, they're doing good. I had one die, but it's ecosystem, so I'm not too worried about it.
Hey man, fair enough. So
Yeah,
listen, what type of
Dogecoin.
you got? Oh, you got it up.
Yeah, Dogecoin is right now at 6.9 cents. Nice.
69 cents. Yeah, so tell me about these conspiracy theories you have. We've been talking about this for weeks. What do you got for me?
Okay, so I have four conspiracies. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
I have four conspiracies that I'm going to talk about with you today.
Okay.
I'm going to go from, in my opinion at least, I don't believe in any of these, nor am I endorsing. I just think they're interesting. But I'm
Had to
going
put the
from,
disclaimer.
in my opinion, least believable down to just about true.
Okay, let's start with the least believable. I'm in for a good story.
Okay, so the first ones I have, you guys might have heard of it if you watched History Channel at like 2 a.m. or it's about the Anunnaki and the planet of Nibiru, if I'm saying that
Oh, I
correctly.
used to love that one.
I know this is I think I threw this in here because I know it's definitely a more well-known one. But essentially, what the Anunnaki, well, what we believe them to be officially is that they were the gods or deities of the Mesopotamian society and Sumerian societies. And of course, they looked very odd, almost a human-like, but they had elongated heads, and they were supposed to be basically giants compared to us.
Okay.
And they came from this planet Nibiru or or Nibiru. Excuse me, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right at all.
Nibiru, I think.
But essentially, as religions tend to go, especially ancient religions, time went on, the religion died out. But recently, since about 1968, there was a book that essentially claimed that ancient astronauts, ancient aliens, visited Earth, and they ended up interacting with the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians, and they gave them essentially like Prometheus giving fire to man. They gave it's like they raised our intelligence and our consciousness to the point where essentially where we are today.
Interesting. I mean, honestly, if you tell the Black Israelites that, they'll probably have a heart attack. Um, but I feel like now this guy, what the hell's his name? Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, the aliens guy. I feel like he got whenever I would watch that show, like looking back on it, he definitely had to be stoned out of his mind to believe that crap. Like, that there's no way he could believe that in wholeheartedness. And I really hate that the History Channel put that out there because there's no historical backing for it, like, whatsoever. There's nothing proving that that even exists. So it's just like, and the whole thing about Nibiru or whatever the hell it's called, it's the 12th planet supposedly.
Yeah,
And there's like some doomsdayers that believe that like Nibiru is gonna bring the end of the world and all that jazz. Um, I really don't. I think it's all just like a grift, and people just took too much mushrooms one day and just read this and was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I know that the Anunnaki are believed by to be led by Jacob, who, to some black supremacists they believe in. What was it that Jacob created white people to get back at some god or other deity, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna create the devil, and they're gonna be white people." So like, it's very interesting to see how the History Channel even like whitewashed that and just made it like, "Oh yeah, like, the aliens built the pyramids, ha ha ha," and Doomsday. I feel like also like that really irritates me because people genuinely believe that like aliens built like the pyramids in like human society when countless researchers have actually like demonstrated how to build pyramids with pre modern tools. And I'm not gonna hold
Mhm.
you, like I've seen a lot of crack addicts build some really messed up shit, and it still holds, the test of time. So like if crackheads could build stable housing, I'm pretty sure pre modern humans could build pyramids.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like the easy way, I guess, to explain how they built the pyramids in Egypt or the pyramids in South America would be an alien race, because we're looking at that with our modern brains. We're like, man, without machinery, that'd be impossible. But if we never knew machinery, it's not that hard.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's why we had like slave labor and stuff because you needed like 10,000 people to set a brick. And it took like 100 years to build, something that could have taken like 6 months. But then again, they've been building that bridge over Hospital Road for how long now? Like
Yeah, right. But actually, as a little side note, actually in Egypt they didn't use slave labor. Actually, they were actually hired and they got the jobs and everything.
really?
And after they passed, either if they passed while working or after they retired, they actually got a tomb next to the pyramid,
Really?
and they were well respected in the society.
Interesting. So where does the Hebrew slaves thing come in then?
Oh no, the Hebrews were definitely taken slaves by the Egyptians. They just like no significant amount of slave labor was used to build the pyramids, that they can see at least.
Oh, I see, I see, I
Because
see.
you got to remember the pyramids were built in 4000 BC. If
Oh,
I'm not mistaken, the I believe it would be the Old Testament. I'm not too well versed in religious texts. I believe like Moses leading the Jews out of Egypt and everything. I believe that was supposed to happen closer to 2000 or 1000 BC. If anybody's listening and they hear me say that and I'm wrong, by all means correct me, but please don't attack me for it. Um,
they're gonna come to your house and they're gonna put liquid mashed potatoes on your or powdered mashed potatoes on your lawn.
oh God, no, not the potatoes.
With the potatoes. Yeah, no, I, that makes sense and that's interesting. I did not know that about Egyptian history that they actually had like paid laborers build the pyramids. That's pretty cool. I guess they get treated better than the modern worker. So what's
Yeah,
your
right.
what's your second most least believable conspiracy theory?
So the second conspiracy theory I'm going to bring up today
Okay.
is the hollow Earth theory.
Okay.
So essentially, there's two different schools of thought with this. There's the hollow Earth theory, in which that we are living on the outside, like we're living on the like if you have two bowls up against each other, we're living on the bottom of the bowl on the outside.
Hmm.
But then the other school of thought is that we're living on the inside of the two bowls, and that we're the quote unquote underground race, and that there's another race on the outside,
Wait, so is it
and
like
then
the
vice
moon is the
versa.
other bowl?
No, it's so like if we're on the outside, right?
Okay.
It's still saying like the Earth is round and everything. It's just like it's like if you were to take a globe off of its axis,
Okay.
there'd be a hole in the top and a hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
Essentially, it would be like that. Like we're still a planet in space, but the Earth is hollow. But then if we're on the inside, let's say, there would be a very small sun, maybe only like 1,000 miles or kilometers, I mean, apart, across. And the moon is just some other smaller body that's suspended, and that we're just rotating around that, but on the inside.
Oh, so like there's another ball inside the ball.
Exactly, yeah. Like it's like if you put like a tennis ball and a golf ball inside of two bowls and taped it shut, essentially.
But now here's the thing, like that is like I could understand that in like pre-space exploration, like okay, that makes sense, but
Mm-hmm.
like how did we get to Mars? You know what I mean? How are we breaking through and having all these um galactic breakthroughs in science and understanding when we're within another planet? Where we're the inside, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because it eventually started off with a lot of the religions. Like it started with the Greeks and their underworld Hades, the Nordics. Uh, it, excuse me, the Nordic realm of Svartalheim was supposed to be in the center of the earth. Of course, the Christian hell, you know. Um, and then also the Buddhists actually believe that there's a city located inside the earth.
Really?
Yeah, they believe like their holy city or an ancient city was located within the earth. And the reason why this is stayed as a I wouldn't say popular, but a belief, I should say, even up to modern times, is due to the fact that every now and then they're coming across these massive caves, like caves that
Interesting.
could fit like almost like 20,000 people in them. I mean, even look at the Grand Canyon. If you were to stack up everybody on the planet, they would all fit in the Grand Canyon. Who's to say that there's like what they're saying is like who's to say there's not like 10,000 Grand Canyons a mile under the Earth's surface?
Yeah, but then like how would you like fit all those people like possibly, you know what I mean? Like cuz if we're the inside planet, that just doesn't seem like possible considering like well then again it's the entire earth but hollow, so I mean I guess it makes sense. But then it's
Well,
like
that's the thing, and
but how do you get out? Like how do you breach the atmosphere then? Cuz like I get it from like the pre-modern era, but like people that believe that now it's just like okay, well then you have to believe that the existence of space doesn't exist.
well, the thing is like if we're on like again, there's two different explanations. If we're on the outside of the hollow Earth,
Yeah.
everything still works essentially the same as it does in real life,
Okay.
you know. But if we're on the inside, this relates to flat Earth a little bit. If we're on the inside, because the explanation for that is basically the stars are holes in the Earth's crust, and that's us seeing out past the Earth's crust. And anytime we see like a planet or something, we're looking at it, but we're looking at it through a a pinhole through the Earth's crust.
Interesting.
And then
Okay.
whenever they're sending up rockets or anything, they might be up there looking around the moon, they're saying, or the sun, but they're not leaving Earth per se.
Oh, because that could all be contained within us. And then they might be able to shoot like a rocket out through the hole of the crust.
Yeah, but the thing is they're saying that it's I just lost my train of thought. Is like they're just saying like if we're on the inside of the Earth and they're sending rockets out to Mars or Venus or wherever,
Yeah.
that it's really not out in space. It's really like they might have just shot a rocket up and said it's out there because really like with like Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, there's no way that the average person can see it. You know, we can't even see it, I don't think. So how are we
Uh,
going to check?
yeah, that is true. I mean, that's something about space travel and like, people that deny it, like I'll give them credit for it because it's like, the average person can't verify it. I mean, you can verify trees and stuff like that and everything you could see, but other than that, it's just
It,
complete trust. Like you have to have complete trust in the
exactly.
scientists. I mean, I
Like
could.
until we,
No, go
I'm
ahead. Go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say until it starts getting commercialized, we really can't, say for certain, you know. And I personally, I believe everything with like the about the space travel we're doing. Don't get me wrong, but I think I can see why people have a hesitance to believe it sometimes, like you were saying.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because then you'd be completely crazy if you believed it. I honestly like. I give them credit. I give them credit for sure about this theory and believing in it because it's like you're really going up against all of like modern science and everything. But now the thing is too, it's like who are you to Like, if the conspiracists were just kind of like, if their whole thing was like, we don't really believe in this because it's like we haven't seen it, then and they just
Mhm.
stopped there, that's one thing. But if they're creating new theories based on the same limited understanding the scientists have, they're just as
Mhm.
guilty as in misinforming people because they're operating with the same set of rules that scientists are,
Mhm.
and that's
Well,
what's
yeah, and
interesting.
that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was done. I said that's what's interesting.
Ah, well, that's the thing because it's like I forgot the name of the principle. There's some sort of principle or like a general like I wouldn't say law. It's like a phenomenon
Okay.
where the more somebody shows to it's like the more it's like if they act like they have more knowledge of a um topic, like if they're like, oh, I know everything there is to know about it, the odds are they don't know much. But if somebody's like, oh, I don't really know anything, I'm just, I just, it's like it's just my job or something.
They
They're
odds are they know what they're
I think they're
talking
more
about.
knowledgeable than they're letting on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because like
So
if you,
that's where some of these people are. That's I believe that principle is affecting this.
okay.
They claim to be experts of space travel and everything, or an expert of the Earth's topography or seismic activity, but they're working at a shop right.
Hey, you just came for like 90% of the conspiracy community. Yeah.
Let them come.
You're gonna have to talk to. We're gonna have to get Alberto on the podcast.
Oh my God! You know what? If you want, I can get you his info, and I can see if he'll be interested.
Yo, yeah, because that would be pretty funny. I would
Yeah,
like to.
because Alberto, for anybody who doesn't like know who I am, um, he's one of my bosses. He's a chef, and he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong, really nice guy, very knowledgeable, and I call him a friend. But he believes some of the craziest things you guys will ever hear.
What's the craziest conspiracy theory you've ever heard him rattle off about?
Um, I'm not knowledgeable enough to like tell about this because even I don't know, and I was sober while I was watching it.
Okay, fair enough.
Um, are you okay if I plug a video or
Yeah,
not?
you could plug a video. It's just you can't play it because it wouldn't go
Oh yeah, no,
through.
I'm not going to. It's called the Secret Space Program.
Okay.
And now, if I remember correctly, I could be totally wrong, but if you want to watch a video on it, Oki's Weird Adventures on YouTube posted a video about it. If you just search Oki's Weird Adventures, OKI apostrophe S, and look up Secret Space Program, he has a way more in-depth video. But essentially, it's that we have been sending people, we've been picking people and turning them into superhumans since, I believe, the 1700s. I could believe it's either the 1700s or
What?
the 1950s. I don't remember. There's not a lot of continuity between it. But basically, we've been picking those people, making them superhumans, so where they live super long, and we're sending them to Mars, and they're on Mars fighting vampires and zombies and insectoid aliens and protecting a colony of people on Mars ever since, like I said, either the 1950s or the 1700s. But like I said, definitely go check out that video if that interests you, because he essentially joins the conspiracy community and talks with a lot of high profile people and even goes to a convention in Las Vegas for these people. So it's definitely an interesting thing to look into if you're into conspiracies and everything.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. I was always in the conspiracies. My
Oh yeah,
my
I'll send you the link after we're done.
yeah, send me it definitely. My favorite conspiracy was um that the CIA used Camp Hero out in Montauk to brainwash people and do psychological experiments on them. It ended up
Mm-hmm.
not being true because one of our former contributors here, well, not former, we're just trying to figure out like a time to have him back on, but his name is Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Verga, and he wrote this book about Long Island during the Cold War. Really cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, like, the first thing I asked him was, "Oh, did you ever talk about Camp Here?" And he's like, "I know where you're going with it. I did all the research I could. I got the FOIA documents. I got every document I could get. It's not true. It's Camp Hero is just Camp Hero. And I'm like, oh man, like
Yeah.
that sucks. But like, the fact like the whole like abducting people and like bringing them there and like forcing acid into them. You know what I mean? Like I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I was like 10 or 11. I was like freaked out about conspiracy theories, and but there's so many people that break into these sites. What I did find weird about those when I did go there, I saw a military battalion there. Like I saw an infantry battalion when I was like bike riding with my parents, and I was like, that's kind of
Mhm.
weird. And there were just like rows and rows of Humvees and stuff, and just like dudes in formation, like ready to do something. And I was like, whoa, that's really weird. But I was like, whatever. I was like 10, so like we just kept biking, and then we all
Yeah,
like
it's like, hey, it's weird, but there's a military base over here, so hey, what the heck, you know?
yeah, like maybe they were just like, but the thing is, it's a state park now. So I was just like, all right, well, that's weird. So but it wasn't like too pause either because it was like, it was former military. So anyway, we're biking, and then all at once, all of us feel like this force field or whatever. Like we just got like, all of us felt like something like hold on to our front wheels, and we all fell off our bikes when we were biking through it.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, isn't I believe Camp Hero, that's in Montauk, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't that the inspiration for Stranger Things?
it was. It actually was the inspiration for Stranger Things.
So that like there could be a bit of truth there, you know.
There very well could be.
And
I mean, I've
also,
I've actually never watched Stranger Things, but
me neither. It's personally not my thing. I've just turned to me and you have just turned your entire audience against you
yeah,
just because of the
probably.
fact we didn't. Yeah. But also too, as like a little side bonus conspiracy. Woo.
Ooh,
Philadelphia Project.
what's that?
So basically, what the Philadelphia Project is, it was a alleged experiment by the U.S. Navy to test out cloaking and teleportation.
Cloaking and
Now,
teleportation.
now there are people who claim to have been there, and of course their age adds up and everything. But to me it seems improbable. Basically, they were trying to hold on. Let me actually look it up. Make sure I'm saying this all right. So,
Sure. Yeah. No, I love how I like all the World War II era like conspiracies too, especially like the super soldier one that the Germans were doing that ended up being partially true, but they just ended up doing meth.
mhm. Okay, so here it is. So essentially, the Philadelphia experiment was an event that happened on or around October 28th, 1943,
Hmm.
and they wanted to make the USS Eldridge invisible. They were trying out new cloaking during World War II. But what ended up happening is that when they went to make it invisible, it actually got teleported from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to Norfolk, Virginia. Now, there's people who claim to have seen it and everything and been there and witnessed it, but the Navy has denied any sort of involvement in that. That they never had a USS Eldridge, even though we found that they did have an Eldridge.
Oh, they actually denied having the ship.
Initially, during the 50s, they denied having the ship, but since the 50s, then they have publicly said, "Yeah, we have an Eldridge." Because
That's so
apparently it
crazy.
was involved in experiments with cloaking and everything, but not. It says like officially it wasn't like force field cloaking or teleportation or anything.
But they did have the technology to do it.
Not necessarily, because they were trying like radar cloaking and how to like stop the ship from being seen by mines in the water and everything.
That's so crazy. I
It
mean,
wasn't
like,
necessarily like disappearing technology.
I do believe that. Well, the thing is too, like, one could say, okay, well, obviously it could be true because the Navy denied the ship existing, but the ship, if they did say the ship existed, then America's enemies would be like, all right, well, they're working on like, you know, making their ships impervious to radar, so So it could have been like that's why
Yeah.
they said that the ship didn't exist because they didn't want people, enemy countries to know that we were working on radar cloaking. I doubt, teleportation was possible at the time, but hey, man, it could be. Who knows?
Oh yeah, totally. Because no, excuse me. Jeez, I don't know what's going on. Um,
Burpee boy.
because I do believe the military, of course, has things that we're not allowed to know about.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have jetpacks
And
now.
yeah, I mean they're not like they're not perfect, but they do have them. But the person who put this forward, let me see, Carl Allen, he oh geez, I totally just went down a rabbit hole. Basically, he was saying that he found a bunch of unpublished documents from Albert Einstein, which had quote unquote dangerous science, and that since he was in the Navy at the time, he brought them to the Navy, and they decided to experiment with it, and that is apparently what caused him to teleport or to cloak or whatever that was.
Huh. I mean, like, I kind of believe it, and I'm sorry if I seemed aloof for a second. I was just looking at the alien guy's website, and he's selling merch.
Oh, it's all good.
But I was like, this is insane. But yeah, I
I
mean,
need his
like,
hair product.
I don't know if I believe necessarily the Eldridge one. It does pique my curiosity because when it comes to military technology, you never know what they have. And I personally am in the camp that they cured cancer already, but like, they're just trying to profit off of people. But you never really know. Um, Now let's shift to your more believable conspiracy theories. Like, what's one that you like really believe in?
Okay, so I have two that I really believe in. One of them was proven true. One of them is more of a gray area where it happens, but it's not. It's like it can't be investigated because it's not really regulated.
Okay.
So that one is the fact that a majority of the high-end art industry is actually done as money laundering.
The high end art industry.
Mm-hmm. It's done
Interesting.
as
Okay,
money
so this
laundering.
is this is the one that can't necessarily be proven, but is most likely true.
That's the At least that's the way I look at it because it's a I don't know, maybe I'm a peasant, um, but some of the art that I've seen that sells for $1 million, 2 million, $10 million does not deserve it. Now, I
Yeah, I
mean, if it's
agree.
something like a Da Vinci or Michelangelo or something, to me it makes sense. Like if you bought a copy of the Mona Lisa, I could see that going for a couple grand, geez, a couple $1,000, maybe even a million or two, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
But
like that's kind of why I decided to not be an art major because I went to MoMA. This was like my senior year on a trip with it was either with I think it was with Mr. Payne. I went on a trip with him or it was with Fandel. I forgot which one I went to in high school, but
mhm,
I went with my class and I saw like there was a picture there. There were three things I saw. There was a painting that was painted white 11 times with different shades of white. And it
mhm,
was just like the whole canvas painted 11 times just with different shades of white. There was I shit you not, a canvas painted white with a black dot in the middle, a black dot.
mhm,
And then this is what actually like sent me into a fit. I saw in this glass box. The box
mhm,
was turned so you could see like the inside of its contents. It wasn't turned totally to one side, but it was like propped up.
mhm,
It was a bunch of random shit with yellow paint on it, like just splashed with yellow paint. It was a banana, a pair of underwear, a cell phone, I think a shoe, a water bottle. Just like someone took like a crackhead threw a fucking fit and just chucked a bucket of paint at it, and then just said, "Yeah, that's art," and then like, and it was. I swear to God, it was just there. Like that.
mhm.
That is what just made me realize that I was never going to be an art major, and I'm inclined to agree with you that it is money laundering because who in their right mind would buy something like that? Like it doesn't make any sense. It's not even there's no purpose to that. There's nothing to that. You
Hmm.
could literally go to Michael's and do that yourself.
Exactly, and like yeah, the way you described just now with the yellow paint being splattered everywhere, or the dot, or the white canvas. There was a guy I read about. I believe it was early this year, maybe late last year. I don't know. Ever since 2020, my timeline's been messed up. Basically, they wanted to commission a sculpture from him. He was a well-known a sculpture maker, sculpturist, I guess.
Okay.
And they gave him $80,000 to make essentially whatever he wanted. He gave them a post-it note that said, "Take the money and run," and signed his name, and they accepted it as an art piece.
Are you kidding me?
Yep.
What new
Or there was also another piece of art that sold. It was a white canvas, like you said. There was a like a vertical canvas with a black line right down the middle, straight as an arrow. That thing sold for like $300,000.
I'm really thinking about just getting involved in art again just to make some quick cash cuz that's just like that
It's like,
blows
what
my
am I
mind.
doing?
Yeah, what am I doing, bro? That blows my I'll just get a big ass canvas and then I'll just chuck paint at it and buy a paintball gun and blast paint at it. Say this is my angry and angst feelings and blah blah blah. And
Well, yeah, you
then
need to come up with a good excuse. Like it's like, yeah, make a Jackson Pollock and be like, "This is my emotions. Interpret it however you feel."
even when I was in those art classes in high school that trained you to be an artist, they're like, one of the most important things that you're going to do is that paragraph explaining your work. And I'm like, it should be the art itself that speaks, you know? It shouldn't be,
Yeah,
that's why I was so turned off to art because it was like, oh, like this is now corporatized. Like this is not art. This isn't expressive. This is just like,
yeah.
how to make money. And it was a wake up call, and I honestly believe it. And I mean, there was even something. Oh, did you hear about the story where the guy sold an invisible statue for fucking $20 million?
There you go. There's another one.
I was like, I
And I,
mean,
yeah,
who
he
they
sold
who?
an invisible statue, and the only thing that you got, like physically, was a certificate of ownership. So my thing is like, first off, I need to start selling invisible food.
Yeah, yeah,
And I desperately need to go into art.
yeah, yeah. Now here's the thing though. Like, who are they laundering money for though? That's the thing. Like, I get that it's definitely a scam, but is it just for like
Mhm.
the individual, or is there like a superstructure behind it?
I mean, me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a whole network, like a service almost. Because what happens is like if you bought that $20 million sculpture,
Mm.
um, you can choose to be anonymous. And I'm pretty sure anywhere in the world you can choose to be anonymous when you buy it, and it allows for large cash deals.
Really?
So essentially, it's kind of sort of like you ever heard I'd say, oh, pimps wear a lot of jewelry and a lot of gold because they can't I think the police can't take it because it's valuable, it's money, so
Oh,
they could pawn it off to make bail.
yeah.
Essentially, that if you have that $20 million sculpture and it's been valued at $20 million, you could in theory sell it again for $20 million, maybe even more if you're in a pinch.
Ooh, I see what you're saying. So,
And they allow for cash transfers. So like if you wanted that thing, you could pull up with $20 million and buy it. You don't have to write a check or a wire transfer or nothing.
that makes sense. That's why art is valued by the wealthy because you can convert it into capital to then get rid of.
Like
Oh.
relatively easily. So I think that's how it's laundered. You buy, the invisible sculpture in cash for 20 million. So you take that and then you turn around and sell it for maybe 15 million. So you take a 5 million loss,
But
but
then
you
who would
still
buy
laundered
that?
and kept most of your money.
Who the fuck would buy
Other
that
rich
though?
people trying to launder their money.
Oh, so it's literally just for people that are trying to. Oh, that makes sense.
It's cyclical.
It's not for the
Now, don't get
general
me wrong. I
public.
mean, there's some art that definitely does deserve to be valued. Like me
Absolutely.
personally, this might be controversial, but I typically enjoy the work of Thomas Kincaid to a degree.
I don't even know who that is.
Uh, um, if you had a computer, I would look it up. He does
Oh, here it is.
like idyllic America paintings. But the
Oh,
thing is,
uh,
like you've definitely seen his work or something
yes.
similar to his work.
I love
He
this
does
already.
like very like snowy cottages in the woods with like some lights in the background. Very like when you think of like Christmas in like an 1800s Christmas book, like in a Charles Dickens book. He does paintings kind of like that.
That's
But he
beautiful.
came out with his political affiliations, and that turned a lot of people off to him. But the way I look at it is I separate the art or the creation from the person, typically, you know.
And you're
I still keep it
canceled.
in the back of my head, but I'm not going to um, not enjoy somebody's work because of their political affiliation, you
I
know.
agree with you. Yeah, I think that like, cause then you're
I
just
mean,
gonna.
unless they're. I'm sorry, I'll finish. I'm sorry I keep cutting you off.
No, no, you're straight, dude. I was just gonna say that like, then you're just not gonna enjoy anything. Not everyone that does everything is a great person.
Yeah, it's like as long as you're not like full Nazi, you know, I'm like I'll still enjoy your creation.
As soon as you said that, when you said full Nazi, I finished typing in Adolf Hitler paintings.
Hey, we had the same train of thought. That's where I was going next. Because even if art's not great, I mean, personally, not to piss anybody off or sound that I'm like or imply that I believe any sort of thing, he should have been let into art school, man.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you know what?
Because
Honestly, I'm
it's
looking at his paintings. I mean, they're not terrible paintings. Maybe not to get into art school, but they're not bad.
well, I mean, to get into shit, he can draw better than me. He can paint better than me.
Yeah. I'm looking at all this right now. I mean, it's
Well,
like
to be fair, I can't paint at all. I have the handwriting of a 5-year-old with Tourette's.
I have to look at my old paintings. I mean, I used to do pretty good when I was in school, but like, I don't know. I just you know what it is like I feel like I can't express myself enough with art or like traditional art. I feel like I get more enjoyment out of like this or like, the multimedia aspect of it. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
painting and drawing has too many rules and like it just never comes out the way I'd like it to,
We
you
just got
know?
to remember there's really no rules now with art, at least. I mean, some dude sold an invisible sculpture last month.
Yeah, I mean,
When you do that,
what really I want to do is like I have so much energy behind what I want to do. Like I feel like what I would do is I would get a big canvas and just throw balls of paint at it. Just throw paint at the canvas. And like I feel like
yeah,
that to
do
me
that.
is like at least, for me, like not even to sell it, just as like, a personal thing. I feel like that's worth it.
Yeah. Or you know what you do? You drop 5 grand or 10 grand or whatever. You get a really nice certificate of ownership printed out. Get it framed real nice. Have like gold trim inlay and all that jazz and everything. And then say you have an invisible sculpture and sell it for 30 million.
Oh my god, the IRS would kill me. Speaking of conspiracies in the IRS, um, they put out in their initial they're hiring 87,000 new IRS agents, and in their initial
I
job
know. I was
posting,
looking around, possibly getting a job there.
well, I'm sorry that you're probably going to die within the next 5 years. Anyway, you're gonna have to. Well, the thing is
Not
that
fast enough.
yeah, fast. No, because what they said in the job posting was that you have to be, willing to use lethal force, and then they removed that and they took the whole job application down. So now the whole conspiracy is that like, oh, like, and I kind of believe this. Is the IRS going to start forcibly, taking things from American citizens to make sure that we don't default on our debt? Are they going to literally rebuild debtors' prisons or some type of
No,
form of that?
no, I believe I saw that because the minute I saw the thing where they were hiring, I looked. I believe that was a security application for like IRS buildings.
87,000 though, because the one that I keep seeing
No, no,
is
no, like that.
the
It's like that particular, like where it said lethal force. I believe that was an application for a security guard because they're not just hiring regular agents; they're hiring supervisors, higher ups, janitors. They're hiring just 87,000 more staff. But if you work for the IRS, you call them. It's like if you, like, excuse me, if you're a bottom guy at the FBI, you're still an agent. You know,
right. I mean, the thing,
like if you're the janitor, you still have clearance that other people don't have.
yeah, but this was for that agent job. It wasn't just for security guard.
No, 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 no. But what I'm saying is like if you're a security guard, you're still an IRS agent. If you're a tax auditor, you're an agent. If you're a manager, you're an agent. If you're a janitor, you're an agent. So just agent is kind of like a broad term.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of sort of like right now at my job, we just went through new training.
Right.
The customers are all players, and the people are now playmakers. Without
Playmakers?
revealing where I'm
Ooh, that
working
sounds a
at.
little kinky.
Well, it's like in Disney. Yeah, it kind of does. But it's like in Disney, we're cast members, and we are. Um, it's like the workers are cast members, and the customers are guests. Everybody
Well,
from janitor all the way up to CEO is technically a cast member.
well, now listen, here's the thing though. I'm looking at a article from MSN, and it says it differentiates what you're saying. It says, you know, it cites the IRS's criminal investigation team, described as the law enforcement branch of the IRS, which requires special agents to combine accounting skills with law enforcement skills to investigate financial crimes. And then below it says the IRS is hiring new special agents. Requirements include working a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, be on call 24/7, including holidays and weekends, and carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary. That's only, though, for special agents. That's not for what you're saying, where it, like, it's not like in your example where it's saying that everyone in the agency is considered an agent. Like, this is differentiating like a specific team of the IRS.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's. Oh, you know what it might be?
What?
Kind of sort of like the postal inspectors. Postal inspectors carry usually because they're like former cops. When I
Oh,
was
okay.
working at the post office, they were explaining about the postal police, essentially the postal inspectors. Basically, they would walk around in the post office every now and then. They would follow people, and they would have firearms, of course, just in case, things get squiggly.
Interesting.
Um, so, like, if they found somebody stealing mail at a post office, they would go down and arrest them. And of
Oh,
course,
I see.
if they seem to be violent, if the job entails at that point, or if the job requires using lethal force.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe it's something like that, where if it's like, oh, we got to go to a Warren Buffett's house. Apparently, he's just been claiming he has $86 billion, but he's really got like 10, and he owes like all those in taxes.
yeah, but it's still like armed agents coming to your house, though. That's the thing. Like they're getting to the point. I feel like it's getting to the point where, the country's so cash strapped that like they're going to take things by force. Like they're going, like if you are indebted, you're going to jail, or like you are going to be held at gunpoint and be forced to go to the IRS building and pay back your loans, type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that does sound plausible, but also what I'm looking at too is like, I'm not looking at it. I should say the way I'm looking at it is the postal inspectors.
Yeah.
They can also go to your house and search your house if you're a post office employee, and they suspect you've been stealing mail. It's
Really?
essentially like the police. They go get a warrant and they can come to your house.
But it's only for post office crimes.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, if they find out that, it's like if they go into your house looking for stolen mail, and you've got a brick of coke on the table, they can get you for that too, because they're an arm of the government. They're a law enforcement agency.
Oh, that's so weird. I didn't even know they had like post office cops. You think of the post
Oh
office.
yeah, dude.
Is there a
Dude,
lot
the
of them?
post office. Yeah, there's a lot of them. So if you go into a post office, right? Like if you're in the back,
Yeah.
you might see like one-way windows and a little hallway.
Okay.
I think next time you go to the post office, you're probably not going to remember, but next time you go to the post office, anybody listening to this included, just look around, not to be suspicious, but, look around a little bit and just look around for little one-way windows. There could be a postal inspector in there at that time,
Holy crap.
and they're watching everybody. They're watching they're watching the customers, and they're watching the workers. They're watching them sort the mail. When I did the training, I had to go to a postal sorting plant in, I want to say, like Garden City, Uniondale. It wasn't far from like Roosevelt Field Mall. And they had like a massive network. They showed us where they sit and everything, and like the areas they're in. And there's like a whole network of hallways and areas that they could just watch from.
What the fuck?
And then if they saw anybody stealing mail, or if they just saw an altercation, they could go down there and break it up, or should the job should that require lethal force, use lethal force.
That's terrifying. Now I don't want to work for the post office.
Well, the idea is that, like, especially in the day, people would be sending money, checks, we got bills,
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean I get that part
So
of
the
it,
idea,
but if
yeah.
you're like,
But then also,
no, go ahead, go
but
ahead.
then also, too, a surprising amount of like Amazon packages come in through the USPS. So it's like I don't know what their plan was with it, but when Amazon started getting big, they might have subsidized that to stop packages from getting stolen.
I believe that. That's definitely not
Because
out of the question.
when I was there, I started in, I want to say, like January or February of last year.
Okay.
They were still dealing with Christmas overflow
Really?
from Amazon. And they were getting so many Amazon packages, they had to partner up with UPS, FedEx, and DHL just to get all the packages out.
Holy crap.
So the way I'm looking at it is like, yeah, they probably had people like that to begin with, but then once online ordering of things became more and more popular, I'm sure these other companies said, hey, if you beef it up a little bit, we'll pay you X amount,
That
or
makes
we'll allow
sense.
you to use our drivers or something like that,
Okay, okay. Yeah, now that I could see. I mean, that's definitely a plausible theory for sure. And like, oh man, that's kind of creepy. What's your
Because
what's
you got to,
No,
what's
go
up?
ahead.
Oh, no, because my grandfather was telling me he knew a guy that was in the postal service back in like the 60s or 70s. And every now and then he would see a box from a jewelry company. You know what he did?
What?
Right in the pocket.
Really?
This man would make 10,000 a box.
And this is
It was
before
all
the
jewelry.
days of postal police.
I know, but they existed, but they weren't as sophisticated as they are now. Because this is back in like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
And of course, they would follow random people from time to time. But the odds of catching somebody were a lot less because now they have things where you could like follow them. Of course, with all the apps everybody downloads, you can bug their phone.
Oh, wait, you think they bug your phone if you're a postal employee?
No, I don't think they do, but I'm just saying if they suspect you, I could see them doing it.
Oh yeah, you
Or if
could
they
do
have
that without a
half decent
warrant now.
evidence and they just need a. Well, I'm sure now, yeah, but I mean, once it all came out, it's like once the apps and the phones came out, I would not be surprised if they did that, just because if they had reasonable notice, or reasonable belief, probable cause.
Yeah, no,
I'm
that's
sure they could get, like, I'm sure they would be able to do that.
that's why I get freaked out about having like a smartphone. Like not even that I'm doing anything, but it's just kind of like the fact the government
They
could just
know what I'm doing.
yeah, dude, like I don't need to that just freaks me out cuz it is a violation of our privacy and it's more of the principle. You know what I'm saying? I get like why, but it's still like a
Oof.
huge thing.
Well, you know what it is too? This is like having like smartphones and the internet and everything. We're
Mm.
starting to see it now, but it's a very hard thing to regulate, especially since it blew up so quick.
Yeah, that is true. I mean,
Because when you look back at when cars happened, I'm sorry, you go.
no. Go ahead.
So when you look back when cars came into existence, like like you would see it's like the rich guy in town had a car or something.
Right.
Like not everybody had a car the next day. iPhone came out, maybe not everybody bought the first iPhone, but everybody bought the second or third iPhone.
Right.
You know, so that's where that all kicked off. And then Android made a cheaper phone, and they worked with Samsung and LG and everything. So everybody got these phones super quick. In the 90s, internet took off like crazy after the dot-com bubble. Before the dot-com bubble, too. It's just been going like nuts ever since.
Yeah.
The internet used to be just sending messages and everything, but now I could buy a house online.
Yeah, you could do it. You could buy a gun online too, like legally through
I could buy a house.
Gunbroker.
I could buy a gun. You could buy. If you look at Silk Road, you could buy a bunch of drugs online if you wanted to.
Web 1.0 and Web 2.0 are very, 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 very different animals. And you want to talk about the Wild West? I mean, let me tell you something. I feel like the internet now is way more regulated than.
Oh no, it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, like Web 1.0 was just kind of like, just aimless. Like there was no algorithm sorting pages. There was no, there was nothing. It was all just kind of like, hey, like, here's a random website I built. I think I made a website when I was like 6 or 7 called ilovepoop.com. And it was just like a shitty blog I made at like 7 or 6. And it's literally, it would just be out there. There was no like algorithm to sort it. It was just there. You looked it up and it was there or it wasn't.
Yeah. Well, the
And
thing is too is like, okay, well, first off, I know everybody of a certain age definitely saw the Saddam Hussein video. I know I did. I don't know about you guys.
oh yeah, well I used to watch some crazy shit on the internet too. I mean, that was what the internet was for. It was for, you know, like, just looking up weird shit, when you were like bored. And now, yeah, it's a lot more. It's like consuming. Like when we were like a lot of the kids now that are obsessed with social media, we were obsessed with finding out cool things on the internet that no one knew about or wanted to see. So when we were kids, we would look up all this crazy stuff like Al Qaeda beheading videos and like like you said, Saddam Hussein getting hung, or like the Pain Olympics, that type of stuff, or Two Girls One Cup. I mean, who could forget that classic? You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
God.
And I tried to watch the whole thing when I was like 13, and I almost threw up like 6 times. I couldn't do it. Um, it was really rough. I wanted to be like, yeah, I'm such a badass. I watched 2 girls shit in a cup for an hour. But
Oh, so you thought you was Billy Badass, but then you ran into Billy Badass.
yeah. Oh, I ran into that shit hard. No pun intended. And it was really bad. I almost yacked. I think I threw up a little bit of bile, and then I was like, yeah, I gotta X out of this video. Um, but that's what we were looking at. The kids now, they're just trying to be, TikTok influencers and Instagram influencers, and they want to be the next,
Yeah,
like, I don't even know who anymore.
they're trying
Um,
to be like yeah, early internet stars.
Yeah, I mean, the premise hasn't changed. Like, kids are still going to want to be, like, we wanted to be YouTube famous, and everyone I know had a YouTube account with at least one video on it, and then they gave up.
Well,
But,
that's the thing. When it took off, that was the best time to get in.
oh, yeah, that was
If you
absolutely the
got
best
big
time.
then, you were kind of set.
And that's the thing. And that's why these kids see it now, and they're just like, oh, I want to get big on TikTok and, like, Instagram. But, the
Yeah.
thing is with TikTok and Instagram, like, there's other factors to it. Like, but the thing is, the premise hasn't changed. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna grow up and they're either gonna stick with it, or they're just gonna be like, whatever, like, no big deal. And yeah, the early internet's massively different. But what's like this other conspiracy theory you have? Because what's the one you think is the most is the realest that was confirmed?
Okay, so this was a conspiracy theory that I think a lot of people believed in for a little bit, but it was relatively recently proven to be true.
Okay.
Um, Recently being 2016, 2017. So the basic premise is that quote unquote big sugar paid off scientists to fabricate studies on sugar and fat, and basically have them say, no, sugar is healthy for you. It's fat that makes you fat, and fat that makes you unhealthy. As we
Really?
know now, it's the opposite now. I mean, like, so yeah, fat's not great for you, but it's better than, it's like having
Raw
a fatty
sugar.
steak is better than a Snickers bar.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know anyone that would think that sugar is healthier than fat. I mean, like, but it's, you know what? I think maybe that turned around the last couple of years. Now, what
But
what
that's the thing.
who broke out the news that that was an inside job by Big Sugar?
Well, essentially, I think it was just a lot of people kind of connecting the dots because um, the Sugar Research Foundation they sponsored Harvard scientists that did the tests, and the Harvard scientists ended up refuting the idea that sugar had a role in causing heart disease, and these findings were published in the New England Medical Journal, or Journal of Medicine, I should say, in 1967.
Oh.
But the sugar industry never disclosed the fact that they funded it.
Oh shit. So all
So
that
I think people
science
overall would. I'm sorry.
so all that science since 1967 has been false because it's been funded by Big Sugar.
Well, that's like where do you think all the sugary breakfast cereals came from?
Oh, that's why, because it used to be good for you, considered good for you.
In theory, a piece of pizza is a better breakfast than a bowl of Captain Crunch or a bowl of Fruit Loops or Apple Jacks or something.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because it's not just saturated in trans sugar and sugars and my biggest
Exactly, and it's not super processed either.
what's so funny is that like there's like sugar like on some of these candies. Like I swear to God, like I don't really eat a lot of junk food. So I was going to work and I had like there's a gift shop next to the radio station I work at. So I'm like, okay, so like I go to the gift shop, I buy some Swedish gummies and I eat the package. It had 15 grams of sugar with an additional 46 grams of sugar. It was
That's what I'm saying.
80% of my daily sugar value, and I literally went numb in my left leg. Like that's how much sugar
Yeah,
was in it.
yeah, and the thing is, like, if you don't, like me personally, I don't know about you, soda's a big thing for me. That's my guilty pleasure,
Oh, okay.
like 10 times a day,
Yeah.
like especially at work,
Yeah.
because it's free and it's right there, you know.
Yeah.
But no, but like if you don't have a lot of sugary intake for a while, and you have some, especially if you have like a big punch of sugar, it affects you and you feel it.
It does. Yeah, and
But
it's not good for you.
yeah, and then generally this um, study that they did was studying the effect of carbohydrates, which are okay for anybody who doesn't know, which I'd be hard pressed to find. Essentially, when you eat bread,
Hmm.
bread is made up of carbohydrates. That's why if you see people running a marathon or if they're going for a hard workout, like power lifters even, what they do is they carbo load. And now if you're an extreme athlete, it doesn't really matter because you're working out constantly, you're burning that off, and it doesn't matter where that carbs comes from. It could be processed sugar or bread. Um, a two-time world's strongest man, Eddie Hall, he makes a smoothie in the beginning of his day,
Mm.
and he uses a pint of ice cream in it.
Holy shit.
But the thing is that just to maintain that sort of energy level, he just needs fuel, period. But he's burning it off because he's like a super athlete. He's like deadlifting 1,200 pounds.
Right.
But then if the average person were to do that, they're going to gain a hell of a lot of weight, even
Yeah.
people in physical jobs.
That's the thing too. It's like
So,
a lot of people look to examples of like what professionals do. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
well, like Michael Phelps smokes weed, so like obviously I'm fine. It's like, yeah, he's an Olympic athlete and he can't just sit at home and smoke pot every day. And he's also trained. He's trained in like Colorado and like high altitude, like high altitude places and then like would compete in low altitude places. So he literally is just able to do. It doesn't mean it's not affecting him. It just means that like the
like he's
effect is
like
worn because he's used
it's like
to it.
he's legally blood doping.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's
And this is not an accusation or anything. This is more just my thought process.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he's doing, and it's just kind. Well, maybe I don't know. I'm not accusing the guy because I really don't want to get sued. But anyway, um, like an athlete smoking pot is different than you smoking pot. It's just some regular dude and eating a tub of ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you said with your example. The guy that's lifting 1,200 pounds. He's burning all that crap off. It's still not healthy for his organs or anything, but he's still burning it off. So he's not going to be like obese, but it's
Yeah, he's not going to get super fat off of it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, he that's why, with big sugar and all that, like it's not going to kill you, but like if you have it, it's going to fuck you up. And like even like what you said with soda and how it affects you. It's like it does hit you and it's a lot of sugar. It's like you only have so much sugar you can have throughout the day. Like everything is in percents of 0 to 100. Think of it like this. If you have like a breakfast that's 80% of your sugar, that means you have to make sure everything you eat throughout the day does not convert to sugar at a rate, like you have to make sure that it fills at least 20% of your sugar. So you have to eat like very
Yeah,
low
like you
sugar
need to eat.
things.
Yeah, you need to eat basically all protein for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Because the thing is too is that if, like when you eat bread,
Yeah.
bread is made up of carbohydrates, which, like I was saying before, is used by super athletes, long distance runners, and all that because it gives you long term energy. Which is why, generally speaking, grains and like cereals and oats are part of breakfast. Because back, excuse me, back before we had the calorie surplus we do now, we would eat that in the breakfast and we'd feel full most of the day because it's a long term energy, and then by the time dinner comes around, we're hungry again.
Right.
Lunch didn't really exist,
Right.
because food was so scarce, you only ate twice a day.
And
But what
now it's
happened is
different.
since now we are eating lunch over the past, say, 100 years or so, we're still, like, we're eating the same amount,
But it just
but
has to be
we've been
spaced out.
accustomed to eating, like, you have a bowl of mini wheats for breakfast, very high in carbs. And generally, I could think that's one of the healthier ones if you get, like, plain mini wheats,
Yeah.
but it's still a lot of carbs.
It definitely is a
But
lot of
then,
carbs, and especially when you get older too, like bread converts to sugar. Like carbohydrates convert to sugar and it automatically is sugar if you eat white bread. Like
yes,
once you're
that's the point I'm getting to. I apologize for going off on tangents.
No, you're not going off a tangent. You're fine.
But, yeah, but we're accustomed to having that bowl of mini wheats, 7 a.m., which 200 years ago would have held us over till like 6, 7 o'clock, till about sundown, with maybe a snack in the middle, but not like a whole ass meal.
Yeah.
But then we have the bowl of mini wheat 7 o'clock, noon we take our lunch and we go and have another meal. Then we get home from work 5 o'clock. We're eating dinner by 6, 7 o'clock, so we're having a whole extra meal's worth of like carbohydrates. In a world where we don't really need that.
Right. That's why it's like
Ideally, that would have been a meal that ideally that would be like a caveman's diet or like an athlete's diet or somebody who's like a very physical worker type of diet.
right. Most people today they don't do like that. And I feel like, there's not enough education about because again, Big Sugar and all these other fast food companies that would get into the schools. Like when we were in school, that started to change. That's why everything went from tasting really good to being like shit. Thanks
Yeah.
Obama, but there wasn't a proper education on how to eat a structured meal, and how like there wasn't enough like focus on how to teach kids how to eat properly, and then a meal at lunchtime that met the educational standards. So like I remember in health class we were being taught like the importance of good, clean, healthy food, and then we would get like that at lunch, like just that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, it just and then the serving sizes weren't enough either. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't enough. It's like rations. you know?
Well, the thing is too is that like everybody knows the food pyramid, but then also some of you may remember when Michelle Obama was the first lady, she put in the plate.
Yes.
The, it was a replacement for the food pyramid. It was essentially the same thing, but it was in the shape of a plate to make it easier to um, visualize.
Right.
But the thing is that that's even still flawed. So, like, for example, Anthony, you go to it's like you have a desk job pretty much, but you go to the gym and you do a pretty good workout. So you may need a little more carbs because I don't know what your eating situation at work is, but if you eat a little bit in the morning, but again, it depends on when you go to the gym and all that. But if
So
you
like
go to
I
the gym, say after work,
I go to the gym after work, so like my type of diet, I eat like usually I'll have like a whole grain, whole wheat toast with hummus on it, or I'll make like egg whites in with a side of fruit or turkey bacon, and of course a coffee. And then for lunch I'll have a salami and cheese sandwich with corn cheese puffs, and it's low fat cheese puffs too. That usually kind of holds me over, but sometimes I just have to like eat like a bag of chips or something like a kettle chip or a salt and vinegar chip uh, to hold me over during the day. And then I get out of work. I eat whatever my parents usually make. So it's usually a protein, a vegetable, and or two vegetables, a protein and two vegetables. And then I go work out.
Yeah, then you head off to the gym.
Yeah.
So that's generally, it's like that's an appropriate type of diet. And keep in mind, I'm no nutrition or anything. I just as a oh shit, I work in the culinary field. I have a half decent knowledge on this, but
Right.
I'm no dietitian or nutritionist. So if anybody's listening, don't take this as um as gospel. But then you have like me. I wake up in the morning. I work morning shift. I go into work at around 8 o'clock. Every other day, I'm putting away an order, which is I'm just putting away things in the freezer and in the walk-in and everything, which is a little physically demanding. I'm lifting like 60, 70-pound boxes over my head. I'm reaching, I'm climbing ladders and everything, I'm carrying things up the ladders. So those particular days, I need more. The thing, to the point I'm trying to get to is that the food pyramid and the plate are flawed because different people have different needs.
Right.
Yeah, there's kind of like a baseline diet, but if you're working a more physical job, like I'm on my feet all day, if I did if I did the same routine Anthony did, I would still probably need a little more. If I'm doing the gym and working on my feet and putting away the order, I would need a little more.
Right. Yeah.
But
And
if
so
it's like yeah, but if I wasn't going to the gym, if Anthony's not going to the gym, working at his desk job, we don't need to eat as much.
yeah, that's exactly the thing too. Is that like it's need versus like a lot of people too, they eat just to eat, and it's like, dude, like you got to understand like what you're putting in your body fuels you for the whole day. Like for example, like I was coming home last night from Colorado, and I I was like, okay, like I'm gonna be on a plane. I'm gonna land around 11:30 p.m. New York time, but I'm leaving at
Mm-hmm.
5:30 Colorado time. So I have to eat as much high protein as I can before I get on the plane to New York. So what I did was I had a sausage, egg, and cheese in the morning. I ate that. I ate a I got to the airport. I had lunch, and they had like I had like this sliced up steak and some potatoes, some sweet potatoes, and I think I had some type of vegetable. I don't know what the hell I had. Oh yeah, I had like a salad too. So I ate that, and then on the plane, I had one of those like protein boxes. I was like, yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
spending $10 on a glorified Lunchables, but fuck it, like I'm hungry and I need the protein. So like I ate that. I ate like the salami and pepperoni thing, and then I had a thing of Planters nuts and some like breadsticks or whatever, and that held me over until like the next morning. And then this morning I ate two slices of toast with cream cheese on it, and
Mm-hmm.
then I went out for sushi. I got two. I got a Philadelphia roll and a salmon roll, and then for dinner I had a pork chop with some string beans and some rice. And after this, I'm probably
Mm-hmm.
gonna either have a protein shake or some snacks, and just like haul it.
Yeah, you're gonna like stop eating, but you're just gonna fill up essentially because you've been doing this. You've been doing. Like I'm sure you went to the gym today.
No, no, I didn't. Not today.
I don't know.
No, I
Oh,
was
okay,
too
but
jet
yeah,
lagged.
but either way, it's your last day off before you go back to work and vacation. So yeah, why not? But
Yeah, and I'm
it's
gonna go back tomorrow anyway. I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow, so
yeah,
and ease back into it. I was gonna do like some stuff today, I just didn't have the time, but I'm gonna
yeah.
after this I'm actually gonna like do like a little like warm up workout, see how I feel. But yeah, outside of that, like like Big Sugar and all these like agricultural companies like Monsanto, they like totally perverted the idea of like what nutrition is, and like
Yeah.
just to sell their shitty product. And a lot of the American diet is really not good. Like a lot of the food people buy is garbage, and the way people prepare the food is garbage. It's like you can't saturate a low-fat meal in butter and cheese and hope it's healthy. Like that's just not how it works.
Yeah. But the
And
thing is too is like for example, Coca-Cola.
right.
They are actually still trying to lobby with these researchers. Like the Associated Press got a couple of emails somehow, and they were essentially pressuring other researchers to tell them that children who drink soda and eat candy, because Coca-Cola is a massive company, saying that they generally have healthier body weights than kids who don't eat sweets. But
He
the
said
thing
that?
is that that's. I'm sorry.
He said that?
I think that was the summary of an email.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like they're
This
pressuring
was recently.
people to. 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is from
I thought this
2016.
was in the 1960s you were talking about. I was like, "Whoa.
No, this is up to no. This is recently.
Holy shit. That's
Yeah,
terrible."
and now from their point of view, I understand it, and Coca-Cola does a very good job marketing. Everybody knows like the Coke polar bears and everything, And
Yeah.
when you think of Coke, you're like, oh, let me go out to the restaurant and get a Coke or something.
Yeah.
So I can see why they're doing that, because people are becoming more conscious about it. They're not going to go to a restaurant and say, let me get a Coke. They're going to say, let me get a water, let me get a coffee, a tea, a juice even.
Yeah, that's even better, but I mean, Coca-Cola, literally Coke is just supposed to be a dessert beverage or a treat. It's not supposed to be like a staple. Like they're trying to replace water with soda essentially. And it's like, dude, like you got to understand that like I get capital needs to expand, but like why don't you as Coca-Cola, you know, come out with like healthy juice options? You know what I mean? Like to
Well, the,
supplement your horrible cancer-causing drink.
well, the thing is it's marketing too, because if you come out with a drink and you say it's healthy, people are less likely to buy it, especially people who are like Coke fiends.
Yeah, but the thing is though is that like people are going to change eventually. You vote with your dollar too. I hope that all these fast food companies end up going back to how they started, where it was at least like McDonald's, for example, right? Like McDonald's used to be like this.
It was just a regular burger joint.
Yeah, it was just a fast burger joint. Now it's terrible. It's like you get so big you fail.
Exactly, and I think that's what happens with a lot of the food companies. Like Coca-Cola originally started as a medicine. They would sell a tonic, Coca-Cola, that had cocaine in it as a medicinal drink.
That is true. It did.
But now look what they've become. They've become a juggernaut of food production, and they're here influencing studies.
That's fucked up. Yeah. And that's the thing, like they stray away from their original point. Like they get away from how they started and then they fail because they just, it's terrible. A good idea turns into a terrible outcome like so quick if you're not on top of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
And
Steve,
then, of
I
course,
I want to thank you for coming on Backpack in America for my 200th episode.
oh,
That's
no
pretty
problem. Oh, yeah, I
baller.
forgot it was your 200th episode. Woo!
You. Yes, sir. I forgot I opened this by talking about Colorado too. Like that's pretty crazy. Um,
Oh, yeah, you got to tell me about that. But in honor of 200, woo! Yeah, baby! This is the
ah,
moment we've been waiting for. This is what it's all about. Woo!
Yeehaw,
Woo!
baby. Inshallah. But I want to thank everyone for listening to another episode of Backpacking America. Thank you for sticking around for 200 episodes. Let's hope we stick around for another 200 more. I really appreciate everyone's love, support, and everything. Really, it means a lot. When I started this, I always tell this story. I did not think this was going to be anything. I just started it because I was like, if I don't have something in my realm of experience or a portfolio, how am I going to get a job? I saw all my music friends making like bands and EPs and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I should make a podcast. So thanks for sticking around for my little experiment. Hopefully, it's not so much of a little experiment anymore with 3,000 of you listening every month. So thank you so much for contributing to the Backpacking America community. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Backpacking America. And Steve, do you want to plug your Instagram or are you still incognito?
Yeah, I'll plug it. I haven't posted in a while, but I'll plug it. Follow me at Jehovah's underscore sickness underscore 9876. Um, I really, I'm not gonna lie. I just started the Instagram to kind of make fun of an old manager of mine who had a kid with a dishwasher. Two kids now, actually. Had two kids with a dishwasher at my restaurant that he used to work at. And I basically just started it to kind of mess with her about it because in the restaurant industry, that's like a joke relationship. But hey, it seems to be working out for him. So
Oh my god. What have I done? That is a
I will
conspiracy.
tell you the story later. And I wasn't harassing or anything. I was just joking with her.
Okay, okay.
Like she found out it was me, and she was like, "Ah, you asshole."
That's mad funny. You see, kitchens are a joke, man. Like it's all just love. But I work in radio,
It
so
was a joke with love because that's in the restaurant industry. That's like oh my god, the manager hooked up with the dishwasher.
no, I mean it's I ain't gonna hold you. The jokes are in radio too. But once again, thank
Yeah.
you for joining us, Steve, and thank you all for listening to episode 200 of Backpacking America. And until next time.